What's happening, my beautiful people? My name is Mike LaBelle, and today, my friends, we're discussing tactics, formations, and the importance of player builds, their types, in certain positions on the virtual pitch. When I'm live streaming, this might be the most frequently asked question I've received. Show me your tactics, show me your formation, talk to me about this player or that player. And at the end of this video, got a few of those common comparisons. I'm giving you my opinion. Cool? Make sure to drop a like on this piece of FIFA goodness. And if you would be interested in a podcast, I have another project that I'm working on currently. I think it's going to be interesting and we could carry it into FIFA 21. Comments! What formation are you playing, or formations? And what do your tactics look like? On screen, you see full chemistry. To go with my weekend league squad from last weekend, and we're going to talk mainly about 4-4-2 and 4-2-3-1 because those are the two most common, most dominant formations in this year's installment. If you've been stubborn and you said, I'm not going to try them out, you may have missed out on reaching your maximum potential. And I'm not saying other formations can't be used with success. In fact, different strokes for different folks. And sometimes you receive a larger competitive advantage playing a formation that is unique, where your oppositions aren't necessarily used to going up against it. It does come down to play style. Fast, slow, wide, narrow. How high rated are your players? Do you have the right meta mix-up? Or are you trying to make this happen with guys that you really respect and appreciate in real life that might not be gifted in FIFA? AKA David Silva. Or even when Iniesta or Xavi were at Barcelona. None of those FUT items, of those three guys that come to mind, because they're all Spanish and they kind of fit a certain build, none of them were gonna be killers in a FIFA installment. All right. Tactics on screen. I've been playing these tactics for months now. Pressure on heavy touch, 5 for the width, 4 for depth. Offensively balanced, the width is at 5, players in the box is at 7. Corner kicks, I don't commit bodies to corners. I still convert at a decent rate with corner kicks. A lot of short corners. I just can't deal with being counterattacked of my own offensive corner kick. I like pressure on heavy touch versus pressure after possession loss because that can get predictable. And if you're going up against really gifted players, once they get the ball, they've already made that mental note, pressure's coming, let me get out of this. Whereas pressure on heavy touch doesn't always immediately mean that you're going to be overwhelmed or swarmed with pressure. Makes sense? And when you're analyzing tactics, don't overanalyze. If it's not broke, don't fix it. If you're getting results, if you're happy with the team movement, when you're looking at how many goals you're scoring, how many you're conceding, that's a good sign. That's why we keep statistics. 4-4-2 and another FAQ. What formation do you switch into if you're losing a game or you need to make a comeback? I rarely switch formations at this point from whatever I started in unless I notice something drastically going wrong. My spacing, my pressure, the outlets that my opposition is receiving on his end. But what I will adjust is the pressure or the width or the depth. And some of this is going to seem kind of obvious, but if you have constant pressure versus being pressure on heavy touch or balance, much different experience. It's actually kind of strange. Team pressing, right when you flip that switch, your team just does things that are so unpredictable with when they step, how they sit back, how they position, the runs that are made offensively, defensively. It changes the complete flow of the game. I can't be the only one. 4-4-2 versus 4-2-3-1. What is different between these two formations? And if you want breakdowns or discussing other formations, especially at this point of the title, list the formation down below. That's why we have the comments. 4-4-2. If you're running 2 strikers, that means you have a little more versatility with what type of pairing or partnership you're trying to align on. You can also play more of a number 10 as one of those strikers where he's checking back for the ball or he's able to be a little bit more undersized. I'll give you an example. This year, we've seen Messi used as a striker regularly, but it's got to be in a 2-striker setup, not as a singular striker. He would not allow you to have enough physical presence, and he's not necessarily a burner unless you have the highest rated version of Messi with Team of the Year or Team of the Season. So if he does get loose, you might have to use some more skill moves at the final end of that counter attack. 4-2-3-1, singular striker. The big key difference is you're going to need someone who has a little bit of a bigger body. I usually go 5'10" or taller, but it's not really just about his height. Best example I could give you is if you're really paying attention to player builds in FIFA in general. Some guys are built a little wider, a little brawlier. Some look like they have some extra weight. Some guys are really lean, super skinny. They just get touched or it's windy outside, they fall over. That's not what you want as your singular striker. You have to have enough balance there. And that singular striker might sound obvious. He has to be fast, very fast. You can counterattack. You not only have releases on the wings, but you have that release down the middle of the pitch if somebody's trying to get ahead of themselves, being a little too risk for the reward. Well, we're going to give you some risk and some punishment. Wingers, outside midfielders, and there's no difference whether you're playing 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1. This position is the same, and I wrote down a small list because they have similar jobs. What do you need from your wingers? Pace, and then you want to look at the stamina statistic because that just tells you, are you going to have to sub them out in the 60th or the 70th minute, or can they make it through a complete 90? And it's relevant because we have so many super subs up to this point, and it's just a matter of where you're putting your budget, where you're investing. Skill moves. I like having 4-star skills, even 5-star skills, not because the actual skill moves sometimes. It just makes it where your outside midfielder seems a little more deceptive. His touches just seem a little bit crispier. They're a little cleaner, and you got to be able to resurface the ball. You have to swing it back to the middle of the pitch. You got to be able to cut inside. There's certain creative elements that the skill moves just seem to give this a little more of an organic fluidity to being able to complete your job, get the job done, the process. Explosiveness. Can you track back? Can you get in behind? This could kind of be worked into the pace category, but it's important. Are these players naturally going to go forward for you? Do they get in behind? Do they put pressure on your opposition when you go into a match? Does your opponent start saying, ooh, I got to watch out for Adama Traore. I got to watch out for this Griezmann. I got to watch out for Werner. Damn, Werner's playing on the wing. Finishing and passing, more so with the finishing, you're not going to get that many breakaways. So it's important that you can score goals and create in the final third. So that's where the skill moves are important. You're opening up your body. But if you're not able to shoot properly, you don't have both feet, you're losing some of your versatility, which is crucial for success, especially at higher levels of FIFA. Or you're losing levels of efficiency based on the lack of ability, the inability to be able to score because you don't have those gifts. FIFA factor. And you might ask, Mike, what the hell are you talking about? FIFA factor. When we look at a player such as Kent, that's the FIFA factor. Or Ben Yedder. Wherever you play Ben Yedder, he's going to get the job done. There's certain guys that just seem to have this extra gear and they're overpowered and they do everything right. Dembele's the same way. I could use Dembele right now with all the players that have been released and he would still not be a liability. It's incredible. Into the midfield. We're not changing our programming. 3 types of midfield partnerships. You ready? Write this down. Number 1, the doorman. And this is where you have 2 big midfielders, big body. You got a couple Escalades in your midfield, just taking up space. It used to be when people would run a Vieira and a Ruud Gullit together. That would still work this year, but those guys are the doorman. You're not getting into the club. If Vieira says no, Ruud Gullit says no, good luck to you. They don't like your outfit. You're not walking in today. Your shoes are scuffed. Take those off. Number 2, your maestro and your gladiator. Common procedure. This is where you have that same big body, that unit, and you've combined them with someone who's more skillful. Usually a little more undersized, but offensively more gifted. Number 3, it might be kind of a new addition in FIFA 20. I call it speed boxing. You get 2 box-to-box midfielders that are not necessarily that tall or even that gifted with the same presence of physicality, but as a collective, they're amazing and they're better at scoring goals and they're typically a little faster, more reliable with the touches. This would be such as a Kimmich and a team of the season De Jong, who I've used both of those guys this past weekend. That worked well for me, but both of them are under 6 foot, but they are really well balanced from a statistical standpoint. They take direction well. As long as they partner up and they're on the same page and you don't have one that's all over the place positioning wise, you now have that double weapon. You're loaded. Defense, and I've changed the screen up here because defending doesn't shift based on your formation. Personnel, it's important. You can't have a bunch of bulky defenders. I've tried that when I'm looking at the weekend league. It does not work if you have multiple players that are not agile, especially on the wings. Robertson, who you see on screen here, been a big fan. He's able to get up and down the pitch. But both your fullbacks need to be able to progress the attack, chase back. For yours truly, I want to play aggressive, so I need them to be able to make those steps. Now, I could also run the likes of a Christian Fuchs in this same position, but I can't have another bulky fullback on the other end. I've tried that approach, and it ends up where you're losing the ability to progress it the same way, even if their passing is impeccable. Perfecto. They're just dropping dimes. Center backs, what are you looking for? Over 6 foot is always a helper. I know, Cannavaro, not over 6 feet. week, you can use him, but you don't want to run Cannavaro with somebody else that is going to be undersized. I've got Virgil van Dijk still using his gold for a reason. Ramos next to him, not the biggest center back, but because of his physical gifts and attributes and the way that he turns as if he is an actual fullback, which at some point of his career he was, just different. I'm also someone who takes chances, we go for it. And similar to the left back scenario, and this is a little bit of pick and choose, there's going to be some testing because you are defending as a team. It's not all about individualism. This is where there's going to be that preference of who do you feel cooks well together. A cooking class of your back four. Goalkeeper, all preference. Remember, tactics do not make the player. They do not break the player, but they can help you assemble an easier flow. And then with the correct personnel, this all comes into this larger landscape of a squad that has been built for perfection, that is tailored towards you. And that's why we stress tactics. That's why we cover these details. In both the 4-2-3-1 and the 4-4-2, the big keys for me, all defenders stay back while attacking. Holding mids or center mids, one of them stays back, the other one is on balance just so he can take the space, makes your attack easier. And from there on out, it's not universal. Whether you want a winger to stay back or you want one to go forward a little bit more, you keep them on balance, they track back on defense. I will say this, I rarely ever have any of my attacking players on stay forward. I just don't think from a spacing perspective that it ends up looking natural. Some people want that havoc, but if you're a structured thinker, this could negatively impact your gameplay. I put out a tweet asking all of you beautiful people, player comparisons. Who should we discuss? This player versus this player. So we have 5 matchups. We're going to go through this quickly. 94 Mbappe, foot birthday, versus 94 R9. Both, of course, have 5-star weak foots, but I'm going with 94 Mbappe. I think it gives you a little more of that dynamic, aggressive, once I beat you, you're smoked. Do not let me sway you from buying either of them, but Mbappe's been made for FIFA 20, start to finish, high-low work rates. Now he has a 5-star weak foot to go with all that speed and the 5-star skills. Special foot item. I'm not sure why this came up as a question. 90 Rashford versus 96 Ronaldo. R9 all day, every day, but the price points aren't similar. You're not getting a prime icon and a foot birthday edition Rashford in the same zone. So if you're talking value, it might shift this entire opinion, but if you just want pure ability, which is how I'm judging this, then you go with R9. Varane, long leg, 85 overalls. I kept it cheap for you guys that say, hold on, I don't have the budgets for the first couple comparisons. So be it. Varane's the way that I'm going to sway, but both of these guys are solid opening options, or if you're coming into FIFA late, they can compete throughout a weekend league. I used Longley maybe 1 month ago for 30 games, his baseline, and I was pleasantly reminded how good he actually is. His reliability, his comfort levels, left-footed naturally, which is also a bit of an advantage, but I would still take Varane here. The extra pace, the extra height, and it just feels a little more physical. Richarlison versus Son, both team of the season iterations, and I might be going against the grain, but I've got Richarlison over Son. I used him for a weekend, and I was that impressed, and I'm not mad if you choose Son over Richarlison. That's what FIFA's all about, having that debate, but this has been something that's been coming up. It was a discussion on Twitter, so be it. Let me get the Brazilian. Big body as well, man. He finishes everything. Powerful. I had a weekend where I was able to assert my dominance over many, many opponents. Shout out to Richarlison. 90 Ruud Gullit versus 94 team of the season or team of the year De Jong. Not even a comparison. You've got to go Ruud Gullit, gang. And the price points would also say that this is probably the correct choice. As good as De Jong is, Ruud Gullit is a different type of animal. What he does in the midfield, he's terrifying. When I see him on my opponent's team, I think, how am I going to be able to avoid him? One player has not impacted the competitive scene more than Ruud Gullit. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop some love. I'm looking forward to the comments, and I'll have a lot more content coming out for you ASAP.